So, All-Stars 8 just ended, and to give you my honest opinion, I was not a fan. After two of the best All-Star seasons ever, All-Stars 8 just felt like a complete flop. Hi, if you're new here, I'm Janet Snakehole-Macklin, I'm a dumb British teenager, and I watch too much Drag Race. While All-Stars 8 isn't the worst All-Star season ever, it's definitely down there. And just like with other generally negatively received seasons, this is not the fault of the queens, rather the production. From questionable decisions, to obvious rigging, to underwhelming lip syncs, to disappointing runways. This season will most likely be one that we will look back on at Christmas time after all the other 49 seasons of Drag Race have aired this year and think, that was this year? So yeah, I'm literally recording this the next day and it already feels like a fever dream. Because hoping that UK 5 and Canada 4 aren't absolute train wrecks, All-Stars 8 will be one of those seasons that gets pushed straight to the back of your mind once a new, more enjoyable season of Drag Race starts airing. Plus, it also isn't one of those seasons like All-Star 6 or UK 2 or Season 15 that you're constantly wanting to go back to rewatch. Unless you're really, really drunk. So, what specifically went wrong with All-Stars 8? Well, let me just say, I have agreed with the winner and bottoms most weeks. Emphasis on most. It's mainly the high and low placements that have bothered me. Episode 1, I agreed with Kahana winning, as well as Alexis in the top. Lala, while I do think she deserved the top, her famous now look could have cost her that spot, and someone like Heidi, Jimbo, or even Jessica could have taken that place. Now, the main thing that confused me and a lot of other people was when they told James Mansfield, quote, "You weren't able to do the choreography, but I really didn't care because you were so funny." So the viewers are like, oh, she's low. But then you go onto the wiki and it counts as high. Meanwhile, Darian missed the choreography, yet was still charismatic, yet was still placed in the bottom. And it makes me think of something that Be Like Boy said, you can't expect perfection from some, while excusing imperfection from others. Why does Darian get put in the bottom because she messed up? Yet, James is put in the top even though she messed up. Don't reward someone for something you punished someone else for. I do think Darian deserved the bottom. James deserved to be safe at best. This, of course, is not James's fault, and I'm not by any means saying that she sucks, but she should not have been in the top. Monica, however, did also deserve the bottom. She was the worst in the performance. The whole money, success, fame, glamour performance was fine, but I mean, the only part I laughed at was,
Get brunches for my crew. Give me that filler. Pew, pew, pew.
Episode 2 was a weird one. I agreed with the bottom 2, but once again, the whole winner of episode 1 is in the bottom episode 2, and honestly, why was I surprised? Out of all 11 people who have won an All-Stars Elimination season episode 1, only Aja, Dayla, and Trinity weren't in the bottom episode 2. Honestly, at this point, the queens should just vote out the person who won episode 1 to make it less obvious who was going home. While I did agree with the bottom 2, the winner, not so much. It was very obvious that production wanted to give Jimbo a win as soon as possible on All Stars 8. But her win on episode 2, while not undeserved, did feel a little bit odd considering that she was outshined in her very own sketch by Mrs. Kasha Davis. So watching the sketch, you're probably thinking, oh okay, so Kasha stole the show, she was in scenes with Candy, Jessica and Jimbo, and she still managed to always outshine them. So I'm like, okay, Kasha's winning this. And then you see her runway, and then you're like, okay, so she's not winning this, but a bad runway has never stopped someone from being in the top, so she'll be recognised for the amazing job she did in the main challenge because no one even came close to her. She was safe. Okay, so what about Heidi? She was in 2 scenes, was great in both of them, wasn't outshined by anyone, and her runway wasn't perfect, but it was better than Kasha's, so that might push her ahead for the win. No. The win goes to Jimbo, who had the best runway, but who I feel was a solid 3rd or 4th place in the challenge. depending on where you would put James Mansfield, because she actually deserved a top spot this week. But the fact that there was a top 3 instead of a top 4 really shows that they did not want to give Kasha her flowers. But I mean, why would they? She has enough butterflies on her outfit as it is. So some people are watching this thinking, why did they give the win to Jimbo? Surely there will be other challenges for her to win this season. Oh wait, the lip sync assassin is Pangina Heels. Pangina Heels, who eliminated her on UK versus the World. Now, I know some people think Jimbo deserved to win this challenge, and I'm not attacking you if you were one of those people. But do you really think that was a coincidence? Episode 3 is when things really started getting out of control. I agreed with Jessica winning, but it also could have gone to Heidi or Kahana. For me, Heidi, Jessica and Kahana were the obvious top 3, but instead, they forced the Lala Ree redemption story on us. Looking at it again, her last look isn't horrible, but it's way too simple for a design challenge. And that second look for me is actually the worst. I honestly feel like she could have been bottom 2 over Darian. But no, they put her in the top, and the amazing looks of Heidi and Kahana were classed as safe. I don't think Jimbo or Candy should have been in the top either. I didn't hate Candy's looks as much as other people, but her last look was rather messy, so that should have kept her as safe. Jimbo, while I acknowledge a lot of people did like her looks, I don't think they were top worthy. The first look, while not bad, is, like Heidi said, just a white outfit with bubbles on it. And her second look was interesting and very out of the box take on the concept of, fruits, but it doesn't really match the theme of supermarket. Like, you won't find Cher in a supermarket. And her last look was just stuff glued to a corset, and it had no shape. I know I'm being tough on Jimbo, but it's only because she's an amazing seamstress. I know she can do better. And don't even get me started on the lip sync. If they really wanted Jimbo to win a lip sync, they could have had it be done to this song. Because I don't know what was going on with Miss Raja D. O'Hara. Not only was she not shaking her coconuts, not only was she not wearing an outfit that would allow her to shake her coconuts, she had no coconuts at all. And Jessica did a good job, but it was too one-sided for it to be considered a good lip sync. This is also the first episode in which Heidi threatens to quit, and I don't blame her. And no, I'm not delusional. Her last look wasn't perfect, but nobody's was. So there is no reason that Heidi shouldn't have been at least in the top. But Kasha goes home here, can't say it wasn't fair. Jessica made her decision, and she probably made a more strategic choice because Kasha could have gotten an underdog storyline. But no, my heart shatters into a million pieces.
There's always time for kindness.
And apparently no one listened to that message because of the way they treated Candy and Alexis, mainly Candy, later on, but I'll come back to that. Episode 4 was clearly judging teams to get Darian out. She was clearly the best in her group, but at this point, it's 3 strikes and you're out. But since they were judging in teams, I do think the right team won and the right team were in the bottom. However, if we were judging individually, Heidi and Lala also did great and they could have gotten some recognition, even if their runways weren't the best. What is it with season 12 girlies getting overlooked on All Stars? Jimbo, however, was the clear winner this week, but the lip sync was yet again underwhelming. Chanel isn't someone I'd consider a lip sync assassin, but we all know they're just teasing us of her All Stars 9 return. Episode 5 was when all hell broke loose. Not only was this the episode that Heidi decides to quit, but this was officially where the Candy Muse hate train set off on a journey that would last the rest of the season. Let me just say that I respect Heidi's decision. If you're in a situation that's making you uncomfortable, or one that is damaging your mental health. Remove yourself from that situation. She worried about Heidi, and I'm proud of her. I understand why Kahan would be a bit iffed by Heidi during Snatch Game, but there was no need for her to start going in on Heidi, calling her out in front of everyone, resulting in a week-long Twitter feud about something that happened almost a year ago at that point. So then the fandom instantly divides into Team Kahana and Team Heidi. Then they start going at it on Twitter, calling each other names and threatening each other like a bunch of petty kids, after clarifying that they were fine. Literally, they were just doing their makeup, and somehow that ended up with an altercation between Kahana, Heidi, Candy, Jimbo, and Alexis. So then the fandom start attacking Kahana because they think she's the reason that Heidi quit. Then they start attacking Alexis because they think she's the reason Heidi quit. And then they start attacking Candy because they think she's the reason Heidi quit. Meanwhile, Jimbo's just sitting there thinking about just wondering, how did it all come down to this? Heidi has to clarify that Candy and Alexis had nothing to do with her decision to quit, but people still told Candy themselves that she bullied Heidi out of competition. Luckily, after this point, everyone calmed down. Heidi and Kahana apologised to each other. People praised Candy every single week. Lala and Alexis went on a date. Jimbo cruised her way to the crown. Jessica was runner-up. Darian's smear campaign worked and she was queen of the fame game. And they all lived happily ever after. Is what I would say if that actually happened. The lip sync was fine. Jasmine did good, but Jimbo tripped 2 seconds in, and so it just felt like Jasmine was the only one on stage. I barely said anything about the actual Snatch Game, but I don't really need to. Jimbo is the best. There's no denying that. Episode 6 is what I consider to be the best episode of the season, and I don't care what you all say. Candy absolutely slayed this challenge and she 100% deserved her win. And her runway was stunning. And no, I do not think that Alexis was robbed, but I do think they could have critiqued everyone with a top 4 and a bottom 3. It wouldn't have hurt for production to put Jimbo low this episode, but they probably wanted to avoid giving her any criticism until they had no other choice. But no one did bad this episode. This episode could honestly be non-elimination and I would be fine with it. Episode 7, the Candy hate train continues. People were attacking her, saying that she should have been in the bottom, and I kinda agree, but I understand why she was kept as safe, because at that point, it felt like Kahana had overstayed her welcome. I thought the Forensic Queen's acting challenge was actually really fun, and it should be a recurring challenge, but I mean, it was another comedy challenge. And I get it, RuPaul loves to laugh, who doesn't? But if it's episode 7 and you've got your third person wanting to quit because of the overproduction and how draining all these challenges are for them, then it's definitely time to space out the comedy challenges a bit more. Heck, include another fashion challenge or a pink table talk, one that doesn't make it absolutely obvious that this season was tailor-made for Jimbo to win. Lala Ree, however, absolutely owned this episode. I was surprised at how well Jessica did, and she definitely would have been top 2 had that been the format. I'm so happy that we got at least one Lala Ree lip sync this season, and she killed it. But Georgia just didn't seem fully in her element. So yeah, still not as good as episode 1. Episode 8 was the lowest point of the season when it came to the fandom's treatment of Candy. First of all, people were upset that Alexis won over Jimbo, which I do see, but 1, that's not Alexis's fault, and 2, Jimbo didn't have any makeup on underneath, which wouldn't have been flattering for the lip sync. Then people were saying that they got rid of the you're not in the top, if you're not in the top you're in the bottom thing because they didn't want to risk losing Jimbo, which I was totally fine with, because a bottom 4 is not a good idea ever. I mean, we saw what happened when they did that on UK vs. the World. Then obviously we have the whole thing with Alexis sending Lala home. Oh my word. People were upset for a lot of reasons. They were upset at Alexis for sending her crush home, even though Lala did do the worst in the challenge. And Alexis never outright said that she would save Lala if she was ever in the bottom. It was implied, but never said. Then they were upset at Candy because Alexis didn't send her home, even though she had no control over that. And they were also upset at Candy for literally just existing every day, whether on Twitter or Instagram or Reddit. People were making public Candy News hate posts where people who have no life have very like long internet discussions agreeing that Candy is the worst and that she should die because she comes across obnoxious because of the way she speaks. Another thing which is not her fault. And then people come and defend Candy. The people who come and defend Candy get attacked because apparently they're suggesting that people aren't allowed to have opinions. But no one is saying that. You don't have to like Candy, but you don't have to like anyone. But like sending someone death threats because you didn't like them on a heavily edited and produced TV show is not the way to go about things. You don't know Candy. Only Candy knows Candy. She doesn't need you to go and tell her that she's a bully and a horrible person because of the way producers made her look. But the weirdest thing to me is that some people were speculating that Alexis, was told by the producers to save Candy to keep the season more dramatic. What? Hey people, did you ever maybe consider that Alexis is probably just a backstabber? And don't even get me started on the lip sync assassin. Look, I'm currently watching Drag Race France, and I love it. I love Nikki. I love Nikki as a host. I think Nikki is beautiful. Nikki is a lot of things. But lip sync assassin is not one of them. I don't really need to say anything about episode 9. I mean, Jimbo won a lip sync. And I mean, good for her. But it kind of sucks that it was a loss for the lip sync assassin Silky Nutmeg Ganache. But at this point, it was Jimbo's Drag Race. I don't even know why they bothered doing the rest of the season. Episode 10 is the finale. Episode 10 is the top 3 makeover elimination challenge, which has never happened before. Candy was the obvious winner, and I'm glad to see that even the Candy haters are able to collectively agree that she did the best this week. And that Candy hate train stopped for a whole 2 minutes, because then she had to decide who out of Jimbo or Jessica should get the chop. And it's hard, because on a different makeover, one with more people, both of these would easily be safe or even high. But if I'm looking at these two, I would say that Jimbo's is the worst, and if I was in Candy's position, I would send Jimbo home because of that. And also because I want to win, and also because I love Jessica too much to even think about sending her home. But for Candy, it's a lose-lose situation. Either send home the person who has done well in the competition up until this point and who the fandom collectively loves, or send home the person who has done well in the competition up until this point and who the fandom collectively loves. So basically, death threats either way. So Candy lip syncs against Priyanka, who wipes the floor with her, and who solidifies her spot on All Stars 11, aka All Winners 2. Though a lot of people did realise how this lip sync was totally pointless, because the decision would have been Candy's regardless. I just don't get why they would choose to do a top 2 finale this season of all seasons. It's like, who are they going to crown? The person who has won 4 challenges, had a lip sync redemption storyline, Rue's favourite who we made this season for, has steamrolled the competition and basically guaranteed that she's a winner no matter what happens tonight? Or Candy Muse? But I want to take this time to just appreciate Jessica Wilde. Coming from season 2, I was afraid that she would get an Ongina storyline where we waited so long to see her on All Stars only for her to get in her head and not do as well as she could. But she didn't. I liked her on season 2 and I loved her in All Stars 8. And in my eyes, she was the queen of the Fame Games, since she was snubbed out of the finale because she was the only person other than Jimbo who actually had a shot of winning the crown after Heidi left. So yeah, justice for Jessica, keep being wild. And I can't wait for 2 years from now when she appears in All Stars 10.5, aka Third Time's the Charm. Episode 11 was the talent show, which should have happened episode 1. And Lala basically gets the Queen of the Fame Games title guaranteed for her with the 3 times multiplier thing. But why was anyone surprised when she won the Fame Games? Unless someone voted for her, then there was no chance that the title would go to anyone else. I also don't really agree with James as being in the top 2. I would have replaced her with Jessica Akasha, but that lip sync should have been a solo win for Lala, but I don't really care because I don't care about anything on this season anymore. But had this been on episode 1, then Jimbo probably would have won, if not Lala. That brings us to the top 2 finale, which is not a top 2 finale because everyone except Heidi is there. Let me just say that I think Jimbo is amazing and she deserved to win. But I mean, were we expecting anything else? I know Drag Race producers are evil, but I knew that as hilarious as it would be to see the Drag Race fandom flip out when Candy wins, the producers would not let that happen for the sake of Candy's mental well-being. Well, while All Stars 8 was overall a better season than All Stars 5, I would say it was worse in terms of predictability. With All Stars 5, we knew as soon as the cast dropped that the top 3 would be Shay, Juju, and Cracker. But even though that season was made for Shay to win, just like in the same way that this season was made for Jimbo to win, we still went into the finale with at least the idea that Jujubee Almost Cracker could win. With All Stars 8, there was no other option. It was either crown Jimbo or the fandom rage quits. Again, I love Jimbo and I'm glad she won, but I would have liked her to have at least some competition. At this point, you're probably thinking, if you don't like it, why do you still watch it? Well, I do like it, and that's why I watch it. I know Drag Race can do better. Trust me, I've seen a lot of Drag Race. I think it's worrying that 3 people have quit the competition in the last year of the show, and the producers need to find a way to treat the queens better. The queer community is under a lot of attack right now from people who aren't even in this community. The last thing we need is for people within the community to start coming for each other because of a TV show. We're all tired of the lip-sync assassins. I'm glad they're changing the format for All Stars 9, but I'm still not so sure if the format they're going for will work. I think the new format should be there is a top 2 and a bottom 3. The top 2 lip-sync for the win, and the winner gets $10,000 and the chance to save one of the bottom 3. The winner saves someone, and the remaining bottom 2 lip-sync for their life, with the loser going home. No more lip-sync assassins, and no more roomocracy. Before I wrap up, I will tell you what I did like about the season. Like I said, I liked the Rusical and the Forensic Queens. I loved Heidi. I loved Jessica. I loved Lala. I loved all of the queens, and oh my god, I just realised that I never even got to the whole drama with Naysha and James. I also just realised that I never even said Naysha's name until now. My opinion on that is that I don't think Naysha hates James or anything like that, but she could have maybe used a more polite tone when talking about the situation. I also liked the first lip sync with Aja. I also liked Jimbo's runway looks. I also liked that mini challenge in episode 4. I liked all of the queens, but I do think that the cast was a bit too mismatched for it to truly work as an all-stars cast, because there was clearly a divide between the queens that made it far originally and the queens that didn't. It also didn't help that they sent home 3 of them right off the bat. But they clearly had a good sisterhood together in the end. And the reading challenge was great, even though it should have also happened episode 1. There were so many missed opportunities this season. We could have seen more of Kasha and Darian's friendship. We could have seen a Heidi and Closet lip sync. We could have actually had something special. But instead we got this. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and if you're not ready, go watch Drag Race France Season 2. I am Team Moon and Kiona, and not a soul can cluck.